Coming up on show 800, wowzers, Tesla launches the Model Y Configurator in China. Stick around and I'll tell you more. Plus on the podcast today, the Mercedes-Benz EQS is looking more and more like a very big luxury S-Class equivalent, spotted charging at an IONITY spot. Rivian filing trademarks for the R1V and the R2X. Tesla have some job ads out for insurance in the UK. And why the pandemic means we need more batteries. Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you're listening in the world. Welcome to the show. Welcome to number 800. My name is Martyn Lee. This is EV News Daily for Friday, 5th of June. I go through every EV story. I have done for the last 800 shows, so you don't have to. I do enjoy spending hours a day reading EV news and picking out maybe 6 or 8 or 10 or 12 sometimes stories, but just the essential stuff you need to know, because I know that you're busy, but I know you want to stay in contact and stay in touch with the things you need to know, that you want to know about in the EV world, and some energy and solar and storage and renewables and stuff and all the things around owning an EV. So that's what I do. That's my passion. That's what I do this for. Thank you very much for the kind emails that I've had this week and the continued support on Patreon of so many people as well. I feel like I should say some words around show 800, but thank you. I really mean it. Thank you for all of your support. I mentioned it once or twice before, but the first couple of months of this podcast, there really were just 1 or 2 downloads, and one of those was me checking that it had worked and uploaded correctly. So it definitely wasn't an overnight success, but I can see we've just had last week was our biggest calendar week, and this week is tracking to be, again, even bigger than last week. It looks like people are kind of getting back in their routines, back into their podcast listening as well, and we've just ticked over 2.5 million downloads. That's enough of me talking. Let's get on to the big news. The first bit of news about the Mercedes-Benz EQS that I mentioned. The prototype that's been flying around in Germany has been spotted at an IONITY charging stations. Sometimes you do spot rather different, weird and wonderful vehicles when you're charging, but this time a Mini Cooper SE owner in Germany was filming his own car when he also spotted an all-electric prototype, 2 of them actually, of the Mercedes-Benz EQS. This is the saloon, the S-Class equivalent. They were at an IONITY fast charging station in Germany. Both were completely covered during charging, and then inside, an interior shot, the dashboards were covered as well. Uncovered before departure, whipped the covers off, says InsideEVs, and off the test drivers went. Now, the EQS looks pretty good. Still in camouflage, still looking a little bit rough and ready around the edges, so this isn't a production-ready car. The EQ equivalent of Mercedes-Benz S-Class, and as we know, not all people drive S-Classes. They tend to be quite expensive cars, and for a certain type of person, a buyer that wants a certain type of car for a certain type of purpose, they might be the most direct competitor to a Tesla Model S that we've seen yet. It remains unknown how fast the EQS was charging at IONITY, because the person who put the YouTube video up didn't get a shot of the screen. I don't even know if they could get close to the screen. However, it'll definitely charge faster, or at least as fast as the current Mercedes-Benz EQC. That's the SUV. However, it may well go faster. A lot faster. The market launch of the EQS is expected in 2022, maybe at the end of 2021 as a 22 model year, with at least 310 miles of WLTP range. And come on, Mercedes-Benz, fake exhaust tips. You've put the exhausts on the back of the car, and the car is charging. I suppose it could be a plug-in hybrid, but still, you're fooling no one. We know what we're looking at with this. But why not just embrace, now that the car has been spotted, just embrace it. Just embrace it. And so they just have. Mercedes-Benz have just published the first official picture of that car, decked in camouflage and all the wrap, and now we'll see how far away the production car gets from the concept car that was unveiled in concept form. Now, when that happened, they said they wanted to make the sort of saloon. They didn't call it the EQS, but the saloon version with a 100 kilowatt hour battery pack. Well, that's very doable because that's what they're putting inside the EQV. That's the van, the people mover, the minivan, the working vehicle. So 100 kilowatt hours is normal, standard for Mercedes-Benz at their expensive end. That would give them 350 miles of range, do you reckon, on a car that big, very heavy, very luxurious as well. As we know from the EQC, when I've been inside that's a very luxurious car, so the S-Class is going to be a step up from it as well. Mercedes-Benz mentioning the EQS to be capable of charging, well, the concept car, they said, that the target was 350 kilowatt charge speeds. Now, that would imply an 800-volt architecture, which would be the first I've heard of Mercedes-Benz going down that route. So maybe that'll be pared back from the concept to the production car. If it does match the pack that's going into the van, the EQV, that can charge at 50, and then there's an optional 110 kilowatt upgrade. Of course, the EQC, that's 150, so you'd think that it's got to be higher than that. Maybe it is going to be an 800-volt system. Maybe it can charge at up to 350 kilowatts. That would be crazy fast, and certainly put pressure in the specs wars back on Tesla. But goodness me, good luck to anyone trying to compare anything with a Tesla. Such are the ardent fans of that brand. They will always defend it to the hill. And of course, in many ways, Tesla do go for those things like charge speed, 0 to 60 time, and other things as well. But also, with price as well, really have brought the price down of their top end cars. So I don't think price is going to be a thing that Mercedes-Benz is worried about too much. The kind of people that buy S-classes, whose head may have been turned by a Tesla Model S, will certainly want to have a Mercedes option. And it looks like that's coming, but it's going to be more than a year away. Moving on, Rivian. Even though production hasn't started for any Rivian vehicle, they've just filed trademarks for 2 new vehicles. There's the R1V and the R2X for land vehicles and parts and fittings, structural parts and powertrain components in the nature of electric motors, says the filing. That would make sense if the R1V is going to be the Amazon delivery van they're building. But then it gets interesting because there's also mention of an all-terrain vehicle, an ATV, and bicycles even. Wow, looks like Rivian could be expanding. Okay, moving on, the Tesla Model Y factory shell in China's Gigafactory is indeed complete. Now, that is great news. Over the past few months, Tesla's China Gigafactory, or Giga Berlin, as Elon wants us to call it these days, been so much construction work going on. If you thought they were going to stop at the Model 3, that massive build took a year to the day, to build that huge factory for the Model 3 and the battery factory as well in China. That is only the start of it. Phase 2 is Model Y. Activity in Phase 2 has been impressive, with the build-out of 2 large structures, which the sort of YouTubers who fly drones are calling Phase 2A and 2B. Every week it gets better. Says Teslarati, a recent report now from the Chinese media outlet Global Times, has revealed that the factory, with a shell for Giga Berlin, for the Model Y, which is Phase 2A, it's finished. They've gone and completed it. What? The build-out of the Model Y facility took less than 5 months. Now the interior fit-out will begin those production lines. Elon has always said that the Model Y will outsell the Model S, 3, X combined. Considering the size of the market in China, he's got a point. And if they put some of that new battery technology inside the Model Y, it's going to be cheaper. I think this is more evidence that they're not going to make any Model Ys in Fremont and ship them to Europe or China. I think all the Model Ys made in the US will stay in the US, and then China will start making Model Ys at the end of the year. Giga Berlin opening about 12 months away, maybe next summer, starting to make Model Ys for Europe. Of course, if they have to, if demand were to drop off, of course they would make Model Ys in California and ship them to Europe as they have been with the Model 3. Of course they would, if there was a need to. So let's talk about this big story about Tesla insurance. Tesla is advertising for new roles, and one of those is a program manager in the insurance and underwriting field to work in the UK. The job location is in London, it's full-time, and it indicates something that could make Tesla owners happy, says Clean Technica. Tesla wants to develop their own motor insurance products, or at least start working on them, and here in the UK, as they have plans to enhance their ownership of their customers while lowering the cost of insurance. One of the key responsibilities that Tesla wants in this future role is to forget the standard products the market has offered for centuries. Tesla say they want to develop auto industry insurance that is worthy of the 21st century and made for only Tesla owners. And they want their insurance to represent it fully, the Tesla brand. Last year they launched it in California, and they've been criticised for branching out. Warren Buffett said it would struggle because Tesla should stick to what they know doing well, which is building cars. Tesla, of course, is laser focused on their customers, always have been, and at the minute, though, California is the only place where Tesla insurance is offered. I'm surprised that the UK would be made a special case, but, I'm not complaining, not that I own a Tesla, but interesting stuff. In China, the Model Y configurator just went live. Tesla launched the Model Y configurator earlier this week. So what can Chinese buyers of the Model Y now order? Well, they can configure the long-range all-wheel drive and the performance versions of the Model Y. No standard range plus here. No delivery date is provided. Production is going to begin in early 2021. The January event, it was January, wasn't it? Yeah, where we saw a Model Y in China. So what is it now? Beginning first week of June. So Chinese buyers can now get on the configurator and actually get their spec sorted. Those lucky people. Here, and unlike other places in the UK, Tesla UK site simply says, find out more. There is no chance to configure. Like I say, I think we're a long way off from getting Model Ys here. Well, the Finnish company, Caverion, and the high-power charging joint venture company IONITY have entered into a partnership. Caverion is responsible for maintaining and servicing transformers at the IONITY stations, the high-powered chargers. The ones in Norway, Finland, Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia. Says Electrive, the new service contract, is not the first cooperation between the Finnish company and IONITY. The Finnish company Caverion is installing new charging stations for IONITY. They're doing it in Norway and Sweden. There's more evidence that IONITY continue to expand, and part of that is, of course, maintaining the ones they've got already. Couple more stories. Actually, do three more if we can, if we've got time. It is show 800 after all. Let's push the boat out. Although no electric boats on this podcast, unfortunately. From power walls to power panels, the CEO of Span claims a breakthrough for home batteries. He's a former head of Tesla products, and he said that the new startup's redesign of the humble electrical panel. We've all got one. Ours is under the stairs, and it's all shiny and new. But the electrical panel offers a breakthrough interaction with home batteries, and actually redesigning the home electrical panel can streamline both labour and component costs. According to Energy Storage News website, the CEO of Span is Ark Rayo. He was leader of the product team at Tesla, launching Powerwall Home Energy in 2015, claiming to have reinvented the home electrical panel. Now, Span's panel enables monitoring and controlling aimed at today's kind of connected homes and connected devices, and as well as enabling the controllable addition of things like solar and storage and EV charging, all done in your home electrical panel. The company wants the panel to act as a digital interface for your entire home. Mine is about a week old and it now feels positively old-fashioned. It is not connected in any way. However, when we moved into this house recently, one of the things that we knew we wanted to change in time was the electrical panel. It was the original 1977, 1978 fuse board, the fuses, the kind of the rewirable fuses. So you go and get your fuse wire from the DIY store of different thicknesses, and then if you do happen to have a short circuit or something goes wrong, it's okay because you're only being electrified for the time that it takes for the wire to heat up and burn through. Yeah, no thank you. We're replacing those straight away. And so we did. We didn't do it straight away, but then the addition of a small person to the household when we became a family last December somewhat focused our minds a little bit. So unfortunately our electrician had to postpone because of COVID, but now that it was clear, he came and did all the rewiring in our... It's only a 1970s built place, but did all of that. So as well as our car charger that we had, the version 2 Zappi that we had put in, the fuse board, the main control panel, all changed as well. It is smart in that we have an app and I can see what the house is using and how much is... being drawn from the grid, how much we're putting back to the grid, how much is going into the car. But that's a My Energy product. That's a Zappi thing, rather than the actual fuse board. So interesting, there's a company that wants to be smart with the fuse board, your control panel, and enabling you to control your smart home. Considering that Nest, the Nest thermostat, has been successful in adding functionality. We've gone for Hive in our house, so our house is all Hive stuff. Transparency and control with the home climate. Matt Rogers, who's the co-founder of Nest, he's actually part of the leadership team at Span. So you can see where this is going. Like this smart stuff, this EV charging, and it's touching so many bits of energy that like cars have no right really in traditional cars. Kind of getting involved in, but it's all changing. I love it. I love reporting on this. Well, ABB, the big company ABB that do many things in the energy market, with the right grid connection, the right technology, and the right partner, nudge nudge, ABB say on their press release site today, organisations like fleets, like your company, or if you work for a company, they can turn depots into energy hubs where vehicle fleets can charge quickly, says ABB. They've got sort of 5 points on their website they've published today. Firstly, they say that fleets, when they go EV, should charge flexibly and smartly by varying the rate of charging for each individual vehicle, and using smart charging, you can save costs, charge when it's cheaper, and fleet operators can lower the cost of charging those vehicles. You can optimise the site performance and load control. Some sites, they say, may not represent the only significant load on the electric grid. Many sites not optimised and not even capable of coping with heavy demand of a fleet of EVs all of a sudden. They say that you should invest in energy storage if you have a fleet of cars, because another way to benefit from lower energy costs is to use storage, particularly useful for fleet operators with vehicles in use through the day, some of which can't be on site to charge when electricity is cheap. And finally, generate your own electricity on site. You can cut costs by using solar and storage and other forms of electricity to generate power on site. And they say, make sure that your infrastructure is future-proofed and to get those returns. Right, final story. Coronavirus has exposed a lack of investment in big batteries, the ones that are going to be crucial to unlocking solar and wind power. You see, a drop in energy demand caused by the pandemic left many European grid operators overloaded. They simply had too much green energy. We've had a very windy and sunny and clear skies May. Our grid has been powered by solar and wind for May. According to Bloomberg Green, for decades, power markets have been designed around demand and ensuring that there's enough supply to fulfill the peak consumption. So between 4 and 7 p.m, you get home from work, cook your dinner, TV on, do your, all your family stuff. That's when the grid needs to be at its most robust. You need to build out a grid to support that time of day, which is expensive, but then all the other times of the day, other 21 hours, the grid is underutilised. And that is not an efficient way of spending your capital on infrastructure. But until now, they've had to, because you don't want to be having brownouts and blackouts for the time of day when the grid can't cope, so you have to make sure your grid can cope with like the worst case scenario. And all of a sudden the idea of plugging in lots of EVs when people get home from work, well, that would make it worse. But the national grid in this country, at least here, say that EVs are going to help the grid. Slowly, the focus is changing to how to control an oversupply when it's very sunny and very windy. And with renewables having priority, says Bloomberg Green, but when they feed into the grid, they have more influence over how grids are managed. For battery owners, when you get those big swings in prices when renewables hit the grid, that could be a major opportunity. Batteries charge up when solar and wind is plentiful and market rates are low. They then sell the power back to the grid when prices are higher. With enough capacity on the system, buying and selling from batteries will ultimately help ease price swings. That was show 800. Hey, question of the week this week. Before I mention this, tomorrow's show, by the way, Saturday special, is going to be all about something with electric vehicles that every single EV owner has. Or should have. And we're talking EV insurance. What's it going to be like for people passing their test in an EV? And can they insure it? And what do they have to learn differently? I mean, does the driving test take into account regen? One-pedal driving? And also, what's it going to do to our insurance when we're all driving EVs? Tomorrow, talking to one of the UK's big insurance companies about this very subject. It will affect every single person who drives an EV or wants to one day. Saturday special tomorrow is going to be fascinating. Question of the week now, though. Critics say that EVs are only for the rich and they should be affordable. So what is an affordable EV in your mind? Email me hello@evnewsdaily.com or leave a comment on the YouTube show. Thank you to every patron, all 227 of them. Patrons keep this show going and fund this programme. So for the price of what is basically a posh coffee once or twice a month, and if you're on working from home duties and you're not getting as much takeaway food or takeaway coffee, you know, it's about the equivalent, $5, $10 a month to support a podcast like this, spreading the good word. And hopefully, if you'd like to have a look, no, absolutely no pressure. Patreon is patreon.com/EVNewsDaily. Thank you to our premium partners, Phil Roberts of Electric Future, Brad Crosby, Avid Technology, Brightsmith Group for Clean Tech Talent, Porsche of the Village, Cincinnati, Audi of Cincinnati East, and Volvo Cars of Cincinnati East as well. Thank you very much for listening today. Onwards and upwards. Another 100 shows and we'll be at 900, couple of hundred and we'll be at the big 1,000. Before we know it. Have a wonderful day. I'll catch you tomorrow. And remember, there's no such thing as a self-charging hybrid.